Recording has been started.
Okay. So can we start with? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the investor call for the last quarter of the financial year of FY23-24. Good morning to everyone. I would like to introduce our team leadership here, Mr. Ved Krishna, who is the Vice Chairman, Mr. Jagdeep Hira, who is the Managing Director, Mrs. Neetika Suryavanshi, who is the CFO, Mr. Satish Chamivelumani, who is the Business Head for Compostables Division, Mr. Ramji Subramanian, who is the Innovation Head, Mr. Sachin Srivastava, who is the Company Secretary, and I am Pranay Pasricha. I am the Brand Head for the company. So, request everyone to be on mute. We'll start with a presentation and we'll proceed towards question and answer rounds thereafter. So I will start with my presentation. Just a second. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
All right. So I'll start with a brief overview about the company and what we are trying to do and achieve. This might seem as a repetition for people who regularly join this call, but for the benefit of the new people who have joined us today, this will be a good thing to know about the company. So we are all working towards this dream of a cleaner planet, and all our actions are governed by this. We primarily deal with the food packaging market, and we have a huge 600 billion opportunity in front of us. And we are trying to cater to this market and to capture some of this opportunity worldwide. We have three major offerings. The newest one is the food packaging, which is compostable paper-based packaging for flexible FMCG, flexible packaging for FMCG food items. We have food wrap and carry, wherein we use agri-fiber-based material for carrying and wrapping food. This is paper for bags. And then we have food service under the brand name of Chuck, and this is compostable molded pulp-based materials. So we are in the process of manufacturing and selling these products across the market. So our growth plan is dependent and focused on these two expansions. So one is expansion at our Ayodhya site, and then we are building the largest facility for regenerative food packaging materials in America. A facility is situated in Guatemala, and these are the turnover potentials for both of them with the manufacturing capacity. I'll hand it over to Ved now to take forward for international growth update.
Namaskar, all of you. Thank you so much for joining the call. Pranay, you can start clicking. So significant progress on the international side. As you know, we have been putting in a lot of effort to ensure that we keep growing the idea on what Pranay said earlier, building the world's largest compostable packaging site in Guatemala to service the North American market. So from last quarter to this quarter, now the basic engineering last quarter was just initiated, and now it's almost final. Actually, we finished the basic engineering phase. Most of the plant design has been completed and conceptualized. The second one, big initiation has taken place where we've got our US team starting to be formed, and we've now been in a huddle as of a couple of weeks back, and now we have a clear roadmap for launching our products in the coming year in the North American market for all three areas: food services, the paper-based carry and wrap solutions, and flexible packaging, and this work has begun now. We have completed as I briefed you last time, the land was finalized this time. The land payments are being done now. We've just kind of moved some of the money for that. And the layout structure has been completed. Our teams in Guatemala, as well as in India, and our engineers in China, all of those came together to build an exceptional layout for this facility. The total land area is about 60 hectares, and we are going to cover most of that for this greenfield kind of production. But the way we are structuring it is also for comparable expansion in the future. The pitch deck and the teaser have been more or less completed, and now the investor list has been finalized, and we'll start in the next month or so, we will start putting the teaser out, and then we are hoping that by September, we have the money in the bank for equity. The debt, as you all know, has already been spoken for the America project. We have an amazing person joined us as US business lead. He has a very strong flexible packaging background, and we are very, very fortunate and proud to have him as leading our team in North America. We've just initiated, because it is not going to be the same, the culture and the outlook in US is different. So of course, Pakka will be Pakka, but it'll be positioned differently in the market. And that work has been initiated. We have finalized the partner who's going to do the US branding and marketing, and that work has also been initiated. Over to Jagdeep.
Hello all, I'm Jagdeep here, Managing Director of your company. So the key highlights for the last financial year remained ever highest PBT, around 1% higher than the last year. Molded again, business has been a turnaround business where we have seen a PBT growth of 1.8 CR against a negative of 7.9 CR approximately last year. So on the productivity front, the wrap and carry production had been the highest ever, which is again 4% higher than the previous last year. Highest molded production has been achieved. Pulp sale also, the wet lab pulp, which we sell for other industries, has been the highest. Export again has been ever highest over the years, which is 28% now. And we have again added new product for wrap particularly segment, which is we will be the only one producing 22 grams for wrap with a fiber, not a recycled fiber, with a virgin fiber. So we will be the one only in India. So on the productivity and operational efficiency front, we are operating at on wrap and carry segment at 97% of efficiency. Molded has jumped to 55 from 32% of last year, and the pulp production, the wet lab pulp, is operating at 99% of efficiency. So on the consolidated financials for the year, though the market has not been very supportive in last year, we were negative by 1% last year, whereas PBT growth is 1% positive, considering all the costs embedded for compostable goodwill and the stock option scheme which we had launched for the team, around 7.18. So if we add on to that, in case we didn't add that, so it would have been around 6% higher. As I said, PBT was 1% higher over a year, and EBITDA remains almost at par with year-on-year basis. So the derailer for not standing up to the commitment what we had initially given to all the partners, all the shareholders of the companies, So these, just to give you a glimpse why we could not achieve that figure of what had been committed earlier. So increase in conflicts in Middle East, ongoing Ukraine wars, and Red Sea challenges. Again, on the domestic front, in case we see, there had been steep increase in the imports from 19% in 22 to 47% last year. This is 28% of volume increase, but if we convert it into a value increase, it's only 12%. That means the cheaper product has been coming in as imports. So slower movement has been seen in FMCG's offtake also because of international conflicts in Europe and Middle East. And domestic imbalance also had been seen. So around 2.7% of production increase have been observed year-on-year basis during the last year. We can move to next. So going forward, to meet our commitments and to give a value proposition for the shareholders, we would be going higher on the export volumes, though the market is slow, still slow in the domestic market. New products are being added into the basket. Then we would be, as the project, everybody knows that Jagriti project is coming up, which we are looking at fourth quarter production next financial year. We would be having a taste of the market by outsourcing greaseproof paper and distributing it across the customers. So establishing on the molded fronts, we are going to establish Middle East market for compostable launch, and 50% volume we look from the QSR, which has been low as of now. New designs and product launch will be happening this year. So on the flexible also, we are going to commercialize metallized and non-metallized structure during the year. So on the Jagriti front, just to update all the stakeholders of the company. So PM3, paper machine 3 upgradation has been initiated, and the deliveries for the renovating PM or upgrading the PM3, paper machine 3, the scheduled deliveries by end of this year. So probably we'll see a huge jump in the productivity going forward for the next year. Paper machine 4, which will be a flexible base paper of 100 tons capacity. The technological partner has been selected, and we will be getting into a contract now. So this is again state-of-the-art machine what we have selected from Europe. Vegas tie-up has been done for the raw material for the next extended capacities as well. So process of environmental clearances are in the progress, should be completed by second quarter this year. I'll hand over to Satish for the compostable updates. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Pranay, can you click? So the revenue pretty much stayed flat last year. We were up by about 3% compared to the previous year. However, there's a great news coming in terms of profitability. So operationally, we were at 5.8 crores for the overall year. Why you see 1.8 earlier? Because of, as Jagdeep mentioned, there's a 4.08 crores of goodwill write-off that we had to take up. So this is a great news. And however, the current situation is highly challenging for us. So we would continue to maintain the momentum. So let's see how the year goes now. Next, I think I'm handing this over to Ramji now.
Thank you, Satish. Good morning to all of you. On the innovation updates, split into two. One is in the flexible packaging. We are working on multiple structures, especially focused on non-metallized. And as last time mentioned, we had a prototype development which is done, and we are now looking into the technology development as well as creation of new structures as well. And in the second one is on the trials for the new products. We have already had commercialized in chocolates, and we are expanding into chocolates and confectionery segments, as well as multiple other new SKUs. We are also into the foray in terms of the trials and in terms of the state-of-the-art infrastructure for creation of new products as well as function to analyze the functionality and the sustainability. We are creating a state-of-the-art infrastructure in the lab at Bangalore. And as we speak of all this, as I mentioned, there are new structures coming up, there are new processes coming up, and therefore we are working on multiple patenting possibilities in terms of invention disclosures and then working on the patent processes. And that is there for the Flexi as well as the Regis, which is on the design entities, which will come on the next slide. Next slide, please. And the innovation updates on the Regis side. First, let's first looking into the cutlery. We are looking at the cost optimization, which is an ongoing process, and therefore the launch has been shifted to Q2. And on the beverage cups, we are ready for the manufacturing and the launch is planned for this quarter. And on the delivery container side, we are coming up with new versions with enhanced leak-proofness as well as higher non-soggy and non-soggy and non-oily new developments that are coming up in terms of the delivery containers as well. So new prototypes are getting created. So that's on the innovation efforts. Over to Nitika, please.
Good morning, all. While I would not call this an ideal year for our industry, I would surely say that it's a year for us to remember as a company. I think we've performed and made a mark and displayed our skills to increase our efficiency and perform to the best of our ability. While the business heads have detailed on the performance slides through their slides already, I would like to share that we had an increase in our profit levels, which were basically impacted by the Ind AS adjustments already mentioned, goodwill and the write-off of 4 crores, and also for the ESOPs of 3 CR. We were granted a capital subsidy of 3.38 CR on the investment on our molded products plant. Of the same, 1.64 CR has already been received during financial year 23-24. Some of the key ratios already on the screen before you. Any questions? Welcome you all to share your questions.
So before we move on to questions, I think we would like to cover the plan for next year.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. So, of course, we have strong plans, as always, going forward. I see a lot of questions are coming already for revenue projections. I think we'll refrain from that this year. We will, of course, as Nitika, Jagdeep, and Satish said, we will continue to perform the way we are kind of looking at it. We are very, very buoyant internally. But that said, both our projects are underway, and which means that the real jump will come in 2 years, not this financial year, but the subsequent financial year. But yes, we have strong plans for this year. We have initiated significant growth through our food services outsourcing model and through our international forays, which also get consolidated into the Pakka Limited balance sheet. As of course, Ramji talked about Flexi Solutions, which we are outsourcing right now. But as soon as the new projects are implemented, there'll be 40,000 tons coming into India and 100,000 tons coming into the North America space in the next 2 odd years. We have, of course, stabilized some of the solutions on the flexibles, but we want to commercialize at a much different scale. Right now, it's still been at a very small scale, and now we need to expand that and also offer very strong delivery solutions, which is something that we are very kind of focused on, and the developments are taking place. There are some really innovative solutions that are going to come in this year. There are various other non-financial objectives that we've set for ourselves. Our net promoter score, which is basically how well we are doing with customers, is a very strong indication of how things are happening. 50% is a great target, and we are now at 38% in Chuck, and that's also not bad, those who know NPS. But we want to inch towards 50% and then beyond. As you all know, we have been in the top 50 great places to work in manufacturing in India. But now the target is that we want to move to top 20. We value this a lot. We value the team that we have, and we want to make sure that we keep moving. And of course, it's not just about products, but also about processes that we want to keep improving in terms of ecological sustainability. And there we've taken a target to do a complete life cycle analysis of carbon overall and ensure that we reduce it by 10%. In terms of the next quarter, I do want to give some commitments so that we are basically making sure that we have certain clear directions for the investors who believe in us, and we deliver on that quarter on quarter. So, of course, the exposure, the US business and the food services exports. Food services has been very focused on India right now, but now we've started initiating our exports, particularly in the Middle East, and that will gain momentum. Both Middle East, and also we might even start exporting to US side, where we are building a strong team now. Again, as Ramji talked about, the non-metallized is what we've really been working towards. And this is, again, I think it is the first in the world where a product, and I have one sample lying right here, will be both compostable and recyclable in the paper stream. So this is an actual chocolate packaged in our paper, and we will try and make it very strong. And of course, on the delivery side, the idea is that we want to finalize and launch the lidding solution that we have created after a lot of exploration. Again, a lot of focus will be done on the customer service. And this quarter, we will analyze and make a clear roadmap towards that. We are also building towards strong leadership development, and that plan creation is happening as we speak in this quarter. And again, we have initiated complete analysis of life cycle and carbon impact, and we will understand the current status, and of course, based on that, make a plan ahead. Back to you, Pranay, and happy to have questions and try and do maximum as much as we can with the investors. But thank you again for joining in.
Thank you, Ved. I'll just stop presenting. So we'll take on questions one by one, and please, some ground rules. Please only limit your questions to 2 per person, so that everyone gets a chance to ask their questions. And I will call out names. You can unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. So I'll start with Mr. Jensen Jacob. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you for taking my questions. My first question was regarding the Guatemala capex, which is around 2,000 to 2,500 crores, and approximately 40% of that will be equity funded, which comes to around 1,000 crores. So this 1,000 crores fundraise in Pakka Incorporated, which is indicated to be done in the next 1 to 2 months, will it be in one phase only or in more than one phases?
Yeah, so first thing to understand from an Indian investor perspective, that there is no recourse to India. So India doesn't get impacted at all. The total commitment from the India Pakka Limited is of 10 million, which is about 75 crores, 80 crores, which limits our exposure to that much. In terms of the Guatemala fundraise, we've already, like I said, the debt has already been committed. The raise for equity is about 110 million, which is about 900 odd crores. That is underway now. And yes, it will be done hopefully in one phase. And the target for us is September. And we are targeting that will result in ideally not too much of a dilution. So Pakka Limited owns Pakka Inc., which is the US company where the equity is being raised 100%. And there will be a dilution of that holding. But in the end, the Indian investor only gets to gain because there is no recourse to India. And of course, the consolidation will be there of a much bigger project into the Indian balance sheet in the next couple of years.
Understood. In the last con call, we discussed about the asset light model for tableware, and Satish had indicated around 14 to 18% EBITDA margins in this model. Can you tell us more about this with respect to how we will manage to pull this off? Will pulp be supplied by Pakka, or only technology know-how will be transferred? And a follow-up to this, have we seen any strong success yet? Because we have been trying this for a while now.
So I'll answer one by one. The first question is, yes, pulp will be supplied by Pakka, and we are not giving any further. Again, we are continuing to use the technology that the outsourced facilities are using.
Okay.
So we again, I don't want to give any promise on the numbers because the market has been really challenging for us, and we are trying to maximize as much as possible.
Okay. And have we are we getting any good response in the US markets with this?
We are again, we have just scratched the surface on the US market potential now. It's too early to tell.
Okay, understood. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jensen. Mr. Archan Patak, you can ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you to the management for hosting this call. So, as Ved mentioned that the Guatemala project will have no recourse to Indian cash flows, but India will have to divert up to 75-80 crores max towards Guatemala. So, considering this requirement in the Indian balance sheet, I think we will fall short of some cash flows up to 100 to 125 crores since we have Jagriti project in our hand as well. So my question is, are we looking at and when will the fundraise happen at India level and it will be of what size? And is this going to happen before or after the Guatemala raise?
So Indian project is already underway. So most, as Jagdeep mentioned, most of the orders are also have been placed now. Most of the major orders, including the power plant, the recovery boiler, the tie-up for paper machine, the pulp expansion, the PM3 expansion,
Right.
all those orders have already been placed. So as far as India goes, the fund is being structured already. And the way we are doing it is that instead of raising 675 crores, which is the India fundraise, we'll be raising 750 crores in total. So, and that said, you're right. There is a commitment of about 75 to 80 crores from the Indian internal accrual, but that doesn't that's pretty straightforward in terms of the cash availability. And as you may realize, these projects take about 2 years to set up. So
Right.
the project setup time will be 2 years. So in a year, there will only be a movement of about 35 crores. And that's a cash that is available with us. So we don't see any challenge in terms of the Indian balance sheet to support the commitment towards Guatemala. And the only reason why we are doing that as well is because we don't want to slow down the speed in Guatemala, because we have already moved in a significant pace. And we want to make sure that, while the fundraise is being done, the project keeps moving. So that's the reason for doing that.
Got it. So my second question would be regarding our Guatemala funding, because I think that Guatemala funding is an important key in moving the story ahead. So in the last 12 to 15 months, we started with securing raw material contracts. Then we purchased the 15 hectares of land. Then we have been talking about offtakes, and you have indicated that there is a lot of interest over there as well. Then we also discussed about getting someone to run the operation, forming team in the US and entering those markets. And simultaneously, we have been working on various grades of paper that is part of our R&D. And now GT being appointed as the internal auditor. So from what I understand, some of these actions may be precedent to the large fundraise that we are looking at. But what is the trigger to the fundraise and what are the other pending things that needs to be completed at precedence?
Not that anything really needs to be. So what happened was that we had appointed an investment banker early on when we were still kind of learning the ropes, and we hoped that that was a very Latin America focused investment banker. That wasn't
Right.
moving as fast as we would have liked. So then we moved eventually to a wonderful investment banker. It's a Japanese bank also in India called Nomura. So they are the ones
Okay.
leading it. They are very, very buoyant, and they think there is no project like the one we have kind of conceptualized. So I don't see
Right.
any kind of, and thank you for tracking so well, Archana. I'm very
Right.
impressed with your knowledge of and your memory of what all we are doing. So with all those things in place in terms of the raw material tie-up, the offtake tie-up, the operations tie-up, the technology availability, at least so far, the Nomura Bank has been very, very positive. We've also had numerous discussions with numerous strategic investors, all positive so far. But in the end, we only get to know when the money is on the table, what happens.
Right.
So we are hoping by the time we meet in the next quarter, we should at least have some clearer indication of what has happened. And, the positivity that we have heard, is it that real as we hope it will be.
Right. Got it. Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. I'll take one question from the chat now. Can you provide more details on the progress of the basic engineering for Guatemala project? Are we on track with the initial timeline? That's the first question.
So basic engineering, we again scanned the whole world for excellent basic engineering providers. There were 4 contenders that we had identified. In the end, we found actually a Chinese company we found much better than a European company, the company called CTE, which has actually designed the world's biggest plants. And we didn't realize how good they were till they actually came on board. And we've had an amazing experience with them so far, really thorough in their work. And we've now reached almost the conclusion stage of basic engineering. And we are going to start our detailed engineering work in the next month or so. That said, we've also appointed 2 project engineers already. A couple of project engineers from India have been supporting the project. So those guys are also onboarded. And we are hoping that in the next 6 months or so, the final detailed engineering would also be complete.
Right. So with you have answered the second question also, which was regarding any challenges or unexpected developments and experience with CT so far. Okay. Mr. Hiren, can you ask your question, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Pakka team, for giving updates and keeping investors informed. My question is on flexible packaging. What we understand is that once Project Jagruti would be completed, the major revenue portion for flexible packaging would come once Project Jagruti is completed. But we understand that at present you have commercial breakthrough in this flexible packaging. So before this of Project Jagruti, can we expect any type of major revenue, considerable revenue from flexible packaging? And in the connection to that flexible packaging only, in earlier annual report, it was said that like you have also been discussion with one FMCG company for shampoo sachet, which can be around, which can utilize 50% of the capacity in flexible packaging. So still that is on path, or we are now focusing only on the food flexible packaging only?
Jagdeep, do you want to take the first part?
As I presented, we are on the aggressive pathways for outsourcing, and as last quarter we already commercialized our flexible. Now we are in a position wherein technologies, outsourced technology has been finalized. We are looking for outsourcing, getting it manufactured with the base paper available and the chemical coating recipe of our own, which is innovation brainchild of our innovation team, is initiated. And we look forward for higher growth from revenue and profitability from flexible. So that is being commercialized, and we'll be going into the market for food packaging.
Yeah, and on the market side, again, thank you again for tracking us so well. Yes, that project is pretty much on. I know Dr. Subramanian is smiling there because he was there with the company that you kind of mentioned, what is it, 3 weeks back in their England lab. And there is progress happening in that direction. It's a very tricky application because there is chemical surfactants. So numerous trials are being done, but very positive on that side. More than that, as Jagdeep said, there is a lot of positivity in exploration. Ramji said there are 5 applications that are being focused on. So yes, you're right. Our focus remains food services, but that said, these are very challenging and interesting applications for us, the shampoo sachets, not just from a perspective of technology, but just as a company, because our company is totally focused on a cleaner planet. And when we look at the smaller sachets, those are always thrown away. So even as people who are deeply obsessed in a way about leaving the planet cleaner, we find that we cannot leave that behind. That said, we remain focused on food applications, but the trials remain on the shampoo sachets as well. And thank you again for following us so closely.
Yeah, thank you. And last question is on the raw material side. Like we are focusing mainly on the sugarcane bagasse for our raw material. So do you envisage any alternative also from like other agriculture based on the availability, or we find that obviously for even long-term expansion, like whatever if compostable or food pack, this flexible packaging if it goes, market comes like whatever billion, multi-billion dollar market. So whether there would be sufficient availability for this type of thing, or there would be any additional or alternative agriculture waste that can be checked, and whether all your plants, whether that would be flexible, or this type of can shift from food, this sugarcane bagasse to other alternative raw material used for compostable packaging.
Yeah, a great question. Very insightful, actually. So we of course, that's really on top of our minds when we are actually building our even our technology. So as far as we've been pulping bagasse for over 40 years now. And as technologists, I'm sure Jagdeep would agree with me, we probably know 5% of bagasse after 40 years of experience. And we are probably, one of the top 5 people who, in 5 companies in the world who actually understand the fiber. But even with all our experimentation and experience, we know there is a lot more that the fiber can offer and the technologies can offer. So we continue to explore bagasse. That's the first part, and improve on it. The second part is that if you look at the total bagasse availability in the world, even after our Guatemala and India expansion, we would take less than 1% of it. So there is a huge possibility if we are giving value to a sugar company, there is no reason for us to not get. But that said, business doesn't quite work linearly. So we do, Ramji's team has been exploring the ideas that how do we, and we are now setting up a separate person, right, Ramji, on fiber exploration itself, because we feel that we want to look at numerous industrial waste. We don't want to look at agri waste so much. Agri waste, I mean, from the field, there's numerous challenges there in terms of supply chain, in terms of the silica that comes with it, the storage of those products, the availability of those products. So we are not looking at the direct from field applications, but we are looking heavily towards hemp waste, towards soy hull, towards seaweed-based materials. So there are numerous ideas that we are going to explore. Also, because we want to scale what we know, but of course we are not in the business for the next 10 years. We are at least in the business, or at least this team here, we want to set it up for 100 years. So we are going to keep exploring that and hopefully be able to build that. So, and in terms of the third part of your question was the technology, yes and no. So every fiber needs its own intricacy, and that is the challenge when we say where 5% is what we know. No, what paper makers end up doing is that we treat all fibers like wood because that is what we know. But that's not the right way to deal with it. So that technology keeps evolving. But that said, if you consider a similar fiber like a wheat straw, that's very similar technology. I think the bamboo fiber could be very similar again. But those are again field to plants. So in an ideal world, there's enough waste in this world that we can utilize. So we would stay away from it. But that said, there's so much to be done in bagasse itself. But yes, we will hedge our bets. I guess that's what you want to know.
Thank you. Thank you for very detailed explanation. And Pakka is really being in my last 15 years of investment journey. It is the most exciting company, and also the mission and vision which you are doing is really the need of the hour, and current human society requires that. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Mr. Jayesh, you can go ahead with your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So my first question was, what amount of capex will be done this year for Jagriti and Guatemala?
Already answered, Jayesh.
Okay. Really sorry, there was some connection issue from my end. Will it be possible to you to repeat it?
No worries at all. So total outlay for the Jagriti project is 675 crores. And for the Guatemala project is 280 million, which is about 2,400 odd crores.
Okay, thank you. And regarding second question, I'm really sorry if this is answered too. So previously the management has given a guidance that they will do some tie-ups with the local company to look after the operations for Guatemala. Have we finalized anything on this front? And some more details regarding how this arrangement will be done, like giving away equity stakes, contract labors, because we will of course need some another Jagdeep sir like equivalent for that project.
Jagdeep sir equivalent, there is nobody in the world. So that is kind of difficult. We'll have to look into how do we morph, what do you call it? Pranay, what is the word when you replicate somebody?
Clone.
Clone, yeah,
Clone.
yeah. I don't know if we can clone Jagdeep. So that is a unique person. But yes, we do have a great team being formed in Guatemala. And Jagdeep, of course, is very, very involved on the Guatemala side also. So even in the last quarter, he's the one who's kind of doing the whole layout planning, the critical technologies being guided by him. So of course, he remains one of the kingpins of guidance for Guatemala. Sorry, what was the first part of the question, Pranay? I lost. I got digressed by Jagdeep.
The question is on. The question is on. Do you have any plans for?
Oh yeah, sorry. The
local
tie-up. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So we have a tie-up. Very, very strong partnership being built right now with our Colombian partners. But that said, from a perspective of an investor, there's nothing on paper yet. But Pedro Carvajal, the owner of or president of that company, and me, we've had numerous meetings now, and there is a firm commitment in terms of gentlemanly exchange that we will be involved in each other's projects. That said, what we are doing is even the current paper that is being sourced into North America, again, Jagdeep and the team are developing it in one of the machines in Colombia, and they are modifying their machine to suit our needs. And that product is going to be utilized for our flexible packaging in the 2-year period that will take for the Guatemala project. We also have a firm commitment on partnering for operations, partnering on the project side. So those are all firm commitments. But that said, we don't have a signed paper because from a legal perspective, that will be needed. In terms of equity, yes, they do plan to invest equity in the Guatemala side. We haven't decided yet whether it will be an equity swap, as in will we start owning part of the Colombian company, or will it just be a pure equity play? So that is something that should be answered in the next quarter, because we will now be going to them for equity in this quarter.
Sure, understood. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Tesh. Mr. Pawan Kumar, you can ask your question.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
First of all, really appreciate and really always inspired by the outlook of the company, the vision of the company. So my first question is, like, as in the initial remarks, we are facing some headwinds, like a lot of imports, cheaper imports are coming from other countries. So anything we are doing to really mitigate this problem for the coming years?
Yeah, Pavanji, we are aggressively doing on that. Adding up, as I mentioned in my presentation also, we are looking for new product in the basket so that we have less of a competition and very high on the pricing competitiveness. One, as we said, in case you see the graph year-on-year basis, every year there is a jump of around 2% on the efficiency level. Right now we are operating at around 97% of efficiency, and we are looking to, for this year again, another 2% of efficiency increase, which will eventually give us a competitiveness amongst the imports. Second, we are also looking for more of exports from our domain, wherein there is a huge market and demand as well. So all these factors are being considered, and you will look forward for better results over the last year, during this year.
Okay. And my second question is, like, we are like among top 50 great place to work company, and we are aspiring to be top 20.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate what steps we are doing or what direction we are following to really achieve that?
So many things in the profile, and I would we all have the leisure of having Mr. Gautam on the call, who is our HR head and executive director. I'll ask him to revert because there are many things lined up for culture building, people, and Gautam will elaborate on that.
Yeah, thanks, Jagdish. Sir. Actually, the idea of the company, as we typically mention, is to reach the top 20 best manufacturing places to work for in India. And we are doing a lot on building the cultures, aligning the entire team towards the goals that we have set for ourselves. And once the entire team is aligned towards the similar goal, it becomes easier for us to achieve things for your organization. Anything else that I could address specifically?
No, just a broader understanding. What are plans? That's what I'm looking for. And the small booking keeping question, if I may ask.
So, Pawanji, you have to repeat your question. Your voice was cracking.
Yeah. So my one question is like, our receivable has increased to around 40 crores. If I compare from last year, is there something to look into this, or it's just due to the headwinds we are facing? We are facing some challenges on receivable side also.
Yeah, it's majorly because of our headwinds of what the industry has gone through during the last year. Majorly, but all secured.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this answers.
Thank you. Ms. Akshita, you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Just two questions. Given that Jagriti will come in the next 2 years, and correct me if any of my numbers are wrong, the utilization also will take, say, up to a year. So for the next 3 years, how are we planning for a revenue growth? Why I ask is that for Jagriti, we need debt on the book as well, right? So if EBITDA more or less stays here because we're on 100% capacity utilization, then our EBITDA or net debt to EBITDA will significantly shoot up. If at all we have any bad years like this year, because this year we didn't have any debt, so I mean we had very little debt, so that was fine. But when we'll have significant debt and we have a year which is not good, then that could probably be a pain point on the balance sheet. So just want to understand how you are thinking of debt. I'm not talking about Guatemala right now, but just on the Indian balance sheet.
Thanks, Akshita. A very forward-looking question. As I mentioned earlier, we are from the right now from the year start, we are looking for outsourcing flexible, which will give us enormous growth on the top line and the bottom line also. Similarly, for the base paper, which is a greaseproof, we already have started outsourcing it, getting a feeler of the market. Along with positive side, it will give us a growth on the top line and the bottom line both. So by the time we stabilize our manufacturing site with the new facility, we would be in good shape to get some revenue in the bottom line.
So Jagriti will 100% utilized be in FY27-28, right?
Yeah.
And so we've not been very successful with these satellite capacities or outsourcing, at least in the molded space. So what gives you the confidence that this time around we'll be able to do it in the flexi and the grease category?
So flexi we have already commercialized, which is again 100% outsourced facility. We are just at par on the bottom line. Again, we are looking for a cost reduction with the innovative recipes coming in from our innovation team. So this will give us a leverage to have positive impact on the bottom line. Second, we just started last year on the molded sites also. Right now, we are operating with 4 other manufacturing sites, and it's giving a positive on the bottom line. Not so huge, but as the market grow and then as we see the technology coming in with almost the system what we have at Ayodhya, similar system putting up in place at outsourced facilities, we would see a better profitability from that sites as well.
And
Okay, and one
Akshita,
last question. Yeah, sorry.
If I may add, the Jagriti will come totally on board in 26-27, not 27-28. We will in fact commission it by end of next calendar year. So we will see some capacity even in the next year, 25-26 balance sheet. In terms of debt servicing, what happens is when you set up a capex like this, normally interest during construction period is already built in. So that's already there in the servicing of the debt. And normally there is a moratorium period also. So even when we take debt, it's normally a 2-year moratorium beyond that. So we only start servicing the debt like at least a year after the project gets into commissioning. And we are not even going to take the debt for the next maybe almost a year because for now it'll all be equity. So in terms of debt servicing, we are very, very comfortable when it concerns Jagriti.
Okay, and we've seen a lot of political instability in Ecuador, Colombia, Guatemala. Couple of global companies have been withdrawing their manufacturing facilities. That's what we've read. How are you seeing it? Because now we are setting up a capacity there. So also you said that you'll be looking at RM apart from agri. So then the entire Guatemala project is going to be based on agri, right? And that's going to be a huge thing. So, I mean, how agile could it be going forward?
Number one, Guatemala is extremely stable. So yes, there has been a transition of power this year, but the new government is actually really, it's a bunch of technocrats. So really positive. We've had meetings with the vice president, the minister of finance, extremely welcoming for the Pakka project. In case you didn't know, it's a small country. So Pakka project is 0.4% of their GDP. It's a huge investment for them. So there's a significant effect that Pakka is having, and of course that makes Guatemala in the center of sustainability space. Even their currency has been very stable, and it's not pegged to the dollar. But if you look at historical currency shifts, especially in LATAM, and part of the reason we chose Guatemala was also because of economic stability. So political and economic stability is there, but that said, ultimately we are in business. So if you look at companies like ArcelorMittal or many others, they've been able to do business where there is instability. And a lot of companies, Indian companies in Africa, for example. And that said, we don't ideally want to be in countries which have political instability, but if it is there, you learn how to deal with it. So that is the way business goes. And probably if you learn how to deal with it, you can actually do better than others because many others won't be entering that. Strategically, it's an extremely, within 1 week, I'm there in the West Coast or East Coast of North America. So it makes a lot of sense. We are also looking at even working with American government agencies because they don't want immigration from Guatemala. So our project is direct employment of 600 people. So they are very excited about it. And we are also hoping some support from the American government comes in because of that. So yeah, various factors there. But that said, we definitely don't choose based on political instability, but if instability is there, you learn how to deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Viraj, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, sorry, extension a little bit Ved of the last question, but you have obviously big aspirations in India and especially in the US market. What is your right to win in the US market? Where does it come from? Does it come from technology? Does it come from willingness to pivot towards eco-friendly products? Because we've seen some of these products in the US market. So what is really your right to win and succeed with this big investment and big aspirations of $750 million top line in the US?
That's a brilliant question, Viraj. Thank you so much for that. So this is something that actually really excites us because ultimately we don't, as a company, we don't never want to be a Me Too product, number one. Number two, we never want to be in the cost spiral game. Okay, our cost is great and hence we are going to succeed. That's a plus. That has to be there. We have to have cost leadership, but we don't sell at the lowest price because that's again it's not doing justice to what we are trying to create. So in terms of the North American space, a couple of things. Let's look at it separately. In the three segments that we are focusing on in North America. If you look at the food services segment, it is totally cluttered. The Chinese are having a tough time. They are dumping their products into US. We were in an exhibition a couple of weeks back, which is one of the biggest food service exhibitions. It was 60 stalls of the same products, clamshells and plates and etc. So if you look at it, it's already very, very cluttered, and if we get in at the same thought process, it doesn't work. So we
Right.
obviously go back to the drawing board. We start thinking, what are we going to do? So the first and foremost thing we are doing is that our HQ is located in Oregon, which is a very progressive state, and Washington is next to it. So those two are very progressive states. So what we started doing is seeding those markets, looking at, what is it, and they are not in the focus of a lot of other companies. The second is to really understand the pain points. So typically, like, Satish was talking earlier of the delivery range, that doesn't exist. So can we tackle that segment? So, we've had a conversation with Uber Eats, DoorDash. How do you partner somebody like that to come in with a product which is going to focus on something which others are not focusing on? So
Right.
that's something as a company that we are wedded towards, that only if we can identify a pain point and create value should we be there. We don't just want to be there as a cost player. So that's something we'll continue to work on. And maybe by next quarter, we'll know exactly what segment we are kind of targeting. But one thing is clear, we will not be a Me Too product based on cost. The second, when you look at the flexible packaging space, our team has really created some breakthrough technologies. At least I have not come across a flexible substrate like the one I was showing on the screen before, which is actually a non-metallized substrate, both home compostable and recyclable in the paper stream. That's, I think, brilliant. We don't have anything in the world, at least as far as I know. Dr. Subramanian may know better than me. But as far as I know, there is nobody there. So when we actually showcase these products, there's a lot of positive traction. But again, there is always a gap between what people say and what people do, because there is complexity. You need certain scale, you need certain performance. There's a converter in between. Their machines run on polymers that run on 2000 meters per minute. Initially this product may not be able to run at 2000 meters per minute. So then those are things you tackle. So what happens is then you get into collaborations with people like Amcor, who are looking for opportunities like this. So there are three headwinds broadly. Sorry, not headwinds, tailwinds. So there are three tailwinds. One is the space of regulation. There is clearly that is in our favor. There is the second is of commitments. If you look at any big commitment, organization today in the food service or the FMCG space, I can guarantee you, if you look at their commitment, either you'll see a date of 2028 or 2030. If not to shift towards compostables, at least to shift towards recyclables or a monolayer structure. So the second tailwind that we have is of commitments from the company. The third is of consumers. It's amazing. I land in countries like UK, twice it's happened to me. And the immigration officer asks me, what are you here for? And we'll tell them what we are there for. We are here for an exhibition where we have... And she will get into this whole conversation on, guys, you have to do this, you have to be able to change it. And we see that in India as well, but particularly when we are having conversations in the countries like US, UK, there's a huge amount of consumer demand that is being created. So we feel on the flexible side, that will be very important. The third, and our generic products, which are in the food wrap and carry, what we are noticing is that there is also a huge attachment and demand for renewable products, which is mainly what the term they use is plant-based. So they don't want trees to be cut in paper. And they also realize that recyclable may not have the kind of properties that you want. So the other positioning that we are doing, and in fact, as of today, we were talking to our branding team and how we will position for US. There is a very clear flow towards plant-based. Everything has to be plant-based, including food, including the 6% of US has become vegan. That's crazy, right? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
So there is a huge movement. So I would say these three are the tailwinds that we are looking at. Consumer, regulation, and commitments from organization. And then, of course, us being able to produce the goods. Again, it comes to, can we create value? Can we create a product that is superior? I don't even believe in the idea that if it's a sustainable product, it should be more costly and less performance. It needs to be less costly and better performance. Humans created polymers, and we can create other products. And Ramji and I headbutt enough on that, but we will try. And I know that he believes it too, that's the progression we are working towards.
Understood very clearly. And will you also look at B2B tie-ups, given the large food market in the US with the likes of PepsiCo, etc.? Or is it just going to be restricted to QSR chains and delivery and online retail, like maybe selling on Amazon? which I noticed you started selling in India recently?
It's going to be a mix depending on the products. PepsiCo's and all, what we've realized, take a long time for decision making. So that may be step 2.
Okay.
What we are looking at right now, and we've already started having numerous conversations with more mid-sized companies. So boutique companies, mid-sized companies move much faster. There's a company called British Snack Company. And the owner there is super interested. He already is in paper-based packaging, but he wants to go into compostables. It's not yet compostable, his packaging. So how do you do that? How do you kind of move those guys faster? And then, of course, in terms of food services, we are looking at, again, numerous tie-ups, but we have now decided that we are going to be, because US is so segregated it's like India, in a way different than India, where every state is a country. They have their own laws, they have their own mechanisms, and the way they function. So what we are going to do is focus on Oregon and Washington, and by next quarter we'll know what we are targeting exactly. But it depends on the product range. And in terms of paper, it's actually very B2B. We are looking at the big paper distributors where we do tie-ups.
Understood. And when is the first full year of contribution from the US sales? Would it be
US sales, we are
FY26?
targeting the end of 26, beginning of 27. So we are looking at the 27-28 annual report.
Okay, great. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Venkatesh, you can go ahead with your question.
Hi, good morning to all. My question is on the local fundraising for, I think we're in the range of 700 crores. I think we've been talking about it for the past 12 to 15 months. And in fact, I also spoke to a few investors and kind of asked them if they have an appetite for it. But somewhere along the line, I think it doesn't seem to have taken off for various reasons, including the stock price moving from 200 to 400 and coming back, etc. What exactly is the status? Who's the investment banker? When do we intend to close it? I think the kind of money we are talking about in this kind of a bull market, it seems to be pretty easy to wrap it up. So why is that?
Very interesting question expected from you, Venki. So of course, the challenge has been the bull run and our share price. Of course, we are all excited about the share price. But what happens is that we wanted to ideally do a preferential raise. But when we start going to investors, they don't, because they see this sudden movement of stock, and hence they are a little bit hesitant to invest at that kind of price. Say when we were going to them, the prices were around the 320, 330 kind of range, and it had moved almost 3x in the previous year. So the challenge became for us was that they said, yeah, we are ready to invest the total amount that you want, but it will be at 250 rupees. Right.
Okay.
So now how do you bypass SEBI? Right? There's no way. You have to take the average of previous, 6 months or the 2 weeks. So now, thankfully, we are getting to a stage where we may be able to get to the averages they want and do preferential equity. Hence, what we are doing is we've already filed for a rights issue. So the rights issue we can still do at 250. So the either or will take place. We hope that we can do preferential, so it's much faster. Otherwise, the 3 months later, you guys will have the possibility of investing in rights issue, and I hope you will lap it up and take it if that's the case.
Would you do both? Right.
Hopefully one, yeah. Otherwise complicated, no. If you can raise the entire 175 crores with a preferential, you do it, and the total dilution that will take place is about total of 15%, so 7 to 8% as promoter, and of course overall 15%.
Okay, so just closing that, which is if you are able to line up 3-4 investors at 200 crores, 175 crores, we are done quickly at 250.
Already lined up. They're just waiting for the 250.
Oh, that's it. Okay, fine. We're going to wait for 3 months if the price is kind of stable around those levels.
Yeah. So we have enough funding that our team, who you've been talking to separately, and thank you again for your help and guidance. They anyways have arranged enough funding so that our projects in either place do not slow down. and very, very confident about getting the investors on board. And again, investors have been very kind again to get on board.
Sure, sir. And second question is the India domestic opportunity, which Satish did not, we are not talking about the company per se, but Indian regulations, if will something change here, and if nothing changes over the next 2-3 years, what is the kind of market opportunity that we have for our products in India, and what can we look forward to?
So, thank you, Venkatesh, for that question. So there are two things that we are counting on. One is the regulations are going to get stricter. At least that's the industry news one. And then the second thing is, regardless of the regulations, there is awareness that is growing. There is a lot that we are doing as a company, as an industry body. There's a lot that is happening in terms of awareness creation. And the general public is also taking this up pretty well. Of course, there's a cost pressure that comes from the businesses, which acts as the constraints for the businesses for wider adoption. And that's where we are coming in with a lot of innovative products, better cost structures. So the market is there to expand. How much is it's in our hands.
Okay. Ved, I'll just come back to you on the fundraising. If we raise 175 crores, the balance for the Jagriti would be debt. Would that be the
debt and internal accrual?
Okay, so 33, something like that. Yeah.
Less internal accrual is a little less, 20, but yeah.
Okay. No, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Kashvi Dedia, you can ask your question.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So company recently posted about their success in non-metallized grade, and in the past you have said that company has already received interest for offtakes. So were those against only metallized grade? So what I'm trying to understand is there may be a decent the pipeline for various other grades of paper, but our offtakes will happen on which category? So it's like if we have to sign our offtakes for Guatemala capacity for 100%, then we will be doing on which two grades? So can you please explain how these offtake agreements are dealt with?
Yeah, Dr. Subramanian is going to not be happy with me, but we are kind of really focused on trying to do non-metallized. But technologically, it's a huge uphill struggle, which is what our team has been facing because as you are aware, even as a customer, if you just talk on from a common sense aspect, you need two kinds of barriers in any product, like even a chocolate. What will happen is you don't want any moisture to go in, you don't want any air to go in. Air goes in, the chocolate will become a little bit whitish, as you might know, the oxidation will take place. If moisture goes in, it will have fungus growth, etc., etc. It becomes a huge challenge when you're using natural substances, and hence metal is really good for moisture barrier. So that's why it's been a little bit easier for us to get metallization done. Now, if you look at it, now you have to look at Pakka as this utopian hell-bent company on our goal of a cleaner planet. So what happens is that, yes, you can metallize, but the challenge with that is officially it will do both. If you want a certificate, we have a certificate for compostability. We also have clarity and certificate for recyclability. But we as paper makers know it's not ideal. Number one, you are still using bauxite mining. So you will create aluminum from that. Number two, when you're doing lamination with aluminum and the conversion, now these are things which are hidden, but with our kind of attitude, we want to make sure that we are doing right by our ethics. So when you actually laminate, it comes with a layer of polyethylene. So what happens is that aluminum stays with the paper and polyethylene goes off. But then you're creating a huge waste of polyethylene during the process and the customer doesn't know about it. So they are still happy. But we know. So if we know, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and we have to be clear about that. Number three, when you actually take it into recycling, it's okay if it's in small amounts, right? It will blend in with the paper. You won't really see the aluminum. But as the amounts grow, which we hope it will, you will start seeing specks in paper of metal, which will, again, not be happiness for the customer. So with that in mind, the team has been working like day in, day out to be able to launch something like this, which is non-metallized. Now, this has taken a huge amount of effort. But that said, it's still at a pilot scale, right? You're still doing 500 kgs is the maximum the team has done right now, which is a big quantity. It's not a small quantity. But like I said before, we have to be able to run it at 2000 meters per minute. Metal makes it a little bit easier to be able to do it a little bit faster. But in this case, there's a technology, there's a new polymer they're trying. There's a certain blend that they have tried, which means that, the drying, again, I don't want to get into technicalities, but the viscosities are different. So, so the drying becomes a little bit longer. So the machines are not ready for that. So with all that, of course, our team in terms of Jagdeep and the team in the project, we can plan our machines accordingly, which is what we are doing. But outsourced manufacturing becomes a challenge. But coming back to your the last part, the outsourcing just now, most of it is metallized. We have two structures, M1 and M3. Those are the ones we've started selling. We have just started initiating and sending samples of NM1, which is the non-metallized version 1. So we will hope, as a bunch of people who are mercenaries towards this idea of a cleaner planet, that this is what we will ultimately sell. When Ramji and I talk, we don't even discuss metallized products. We only, it's a agreement between us that we will only talk non-metal. But of course, Ramji also has to talk to Jagdeep where there is commercialization. So there they will discuss metallization. But the two of us, when we talk, we only talk non-metal. I hope that answers question.
Okay, yeah. So as you mentioned, you have certificates for this. So have we done any commercial trials, or still we have to do, which will take another 12 months or so for volumes?
Doc?
For the metallized structure, we have, while we take care of all the certifications that is required, right? Both from a safety angle as well as from a combustibility angle. So we look at all the certifications before going to the market. Number two, yes, for at the market level in terms of launching, in terms of we've already launched it and we have already have success in terms of metallized structures, as Ved was pointing out, and that is already available for different kinds of structures, and we are building up for the same for the non-metallized structures.
Okay, so we also have certificates for non-metallized grade, right?
Yeah, we are moving forward in that order.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Thank you. Mr. Sandeepan Mukherjee, you can ask your question.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Good morning to the entire management of Pakka Limited. So I have two questions here. First, my question would be, can Chuck be a global brand out of India? Like currently we see there are conglomerates who does business all across the globe, but then those are conglomerates. But then there is no Indian brand out of India who sells their product over US or Canada. These big economies I'm talking about, and also we'll get Brazil, I believe, on the South America if we set up a plant at Guatemala. So can Chuck be a global brand out of India if we keep a view of 3 years from now on? This is my first question.
I'll take that. I don't see why we cannot. I mean, if you're not that ambitious, I don't think we would be taking up a bigger mission.
All right, and my second question would be that currently I had texted Mr. Ved Krishna a few weeks back, I believe. It was regarding like in Reliance Smart, I'm seeing there are other products, there are other companies who are selling the exact same product that Pakka is making. Why we are not seeing the products on their shelf, like our product on their shelf?
Honestly, retail has not been our focus, had not been, right? But this year we have grown quite a bit in retail. If you see, we are, like somebody mentioned earlier, Amazon, we have started relisting ourselves. We have presence in all the quick commerce sites. Reliance is taking some time. We are definitely in discussions, but we are present in DMart, Metro, and in fact in Telangana, we are present in Ratnadi 24/7 in Delhi. The multiple retail outlets. Well, we are approaching a lot of retail outlets. This will see a fantastic.
Would we be able to compete as per the price is concerned with other players in India as well as globally?
If you're looking for predominantly at retail, for sure, yes.
All right. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Harsh Patel, your question.
Hi, I'm very proud of the work we are doing, guys. So thank you for that. My first question is to Satish about what you just said, that we are facing some challenges in terms of chuck being. So I just want to know, is this on the supply side or on the demand side?
It's demand side, but also from the supply side, not necessarily internal supply. Supply is coming from overseas at lower prices, ruining the market.
Okay. So the next question is on capacity. So Q4 FY23, we had a capacity of 170 ton per month, if I'm correct, right? And so we were supposed to add additional 100 ton per month from the international side, right? So I want to know, like, what happened to that, right? I think we saw a video where you guys were doing some trials on that as well, right? So is this going to get added to our capacity anytime soon, or like will it take some more time? And the second question I have is, so our current efficiency on the molded product is around 55%. Is this going to get improved over coming quarters? And if that, so by how much?
Okay. So in terms of, it's a very long question, but very deep. So I appreciate that. First one is, you mentioned our capacity was at 170 tons a month at Ayodhya plant. We are at about 270 to 280 tons today. So there's enormous amount of efficiency increase that has happened inside the plant. One. In terms of adding additional capacity, like Jagdeep mentioned earlier, we have 4 new plants, 4 new outsourced facilities that have been added in India for better logistical feasibility. So the capacity has been added at least about 125 metric tons there. The overseas facilities, we are continuing to work with them, and that is a sort of a reserve that we have kept, especially with the new products that are coming out. We may have to go to them. They are in the works. We haven't severed ties with anybody.
Okay. And on the efficiency improvement of the current capacity that we have,
manufacturing is doing a phenomenal job. We have eked out as much efficiency as we can out of what we have today. We will see an improvement, but the efficiency, the way it is calculated and given out as a, I don't know how to say that, but again, that's based on one standard product. So it's 55% is not necessarily bad, right? And I'm not saying it's great, but we will continue to push forward. I will not be able to promise a number.
Okay. Okay. And just to answer Sandeep's question on the last, I recently bought a Pakka plate from DMart, so yeah, they're available.
And thank you for that, and please continue to do so.
Yes.
Thank you.
From my side.
Thank you. Mr. Venkatesh, you have another question? You're on mute. Can you unmute?
Sorry about that. So, wait, a quick one. I had met with a couple of institutional brokers, and we are broadly talking about, they cover Huhtamaki, by the way, and they're not able to find any parallels with many other companies that are doing this. And something that came up was the internal structure of Pakka. And today we have, of course, Himanshu doing a great job. He's part of CNK, and he is kind of the CFO. I think maybe internally you want to think about, while CNK could be the audit firm, do you see a requirement, just like Grant Thornton, to have one of the top 5 or 7 auditors, independent auditors, because that's one question that needs to get ticked if you want to attract a particular class of investors. Yeah, so that's something number one. And second question is, since we are in food processing, and this is going to be one of the big areas for the new government as well, would you consider something like a PLI scheme where you'll get tax benefits if you want to put up additional plants?
I don't know so much about PLI. Maybe Nitika, if she knows, she can answer. But in terms of auditors, yeah, CNK has been great and they remain statutory auditors. But in terms of the internal audit, we are now moving towards Grant Thornton and hoping that that will start bringing us more clarity. I haven't yet found any resistance from people, but maybe it's still early days. So we'll see how we progress. And if it's needed, we can easily shift to. We are an extremely transparent and highly corporate governance oriented organization. So it's not a challenge to move to any of the big five as well from our side. But PLI, I don't know if Nitika has an answer for you on that. I don't have clarity.
So that's on the cards for this year. We've been making some inroads, small ways into some small government authorities and machinery, but we will be taking this up as a major goal for us for this financial year. I'm not very sure how much attention we will get because the industry is such, but we definitely have that on the goals for this year.
Okay, fine. We'll come back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rohit. You can ask your question.
Hi, hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
May I know why you closed down? Hello.
Yes, please ask. You're audible.
Sorry, there's some problem from my end. Can you please tell why you closed down yours? You had a subsidiary in Singapore, right? You closed it down. May I? So I would appreciate if you tell in detail why you exactly closed down. Thank you so much.
So lessons that we are learning in business over time to keep simplifying. So we had this penchant of trying to see how we kind of use different jurisdictions for different products. So the Singapore arm was open mainly because we were trying to set up a vertical which was based on technology, and it was called Global Compostables Alliance. And the idea was that how do we enable others to kind of benefit from our experiences, where we would provide the right supply chain, the right funding opportunities, etc., etc. But we found that it was a huge diversion for us. We had also thought that Singapore government had a lot of possibilities for shifting our R&D there. But when we looked at it deeply, we found that the cost increase would be significant, and we'll move further away from our manufacturing. And ideally, R&D needs to be near manufacturing, not too far. So Bangalore is already a little bit of a distance, but in order to attract talent and synergies with places like IISC, we need to be there. But with GCA kind of it becoming a diversion for us, we said that, we are focusing on a certain huge kind of target and play in terms of scaling our manufacturing. And then this kind of another objective takes up our time. So Satish thankfully drilled some sense into me, and he said, stop doing this. Don't try to be a consultant and a manufacturer at the same time. So I listened to him, and we decided to shut it down. So it will be something that we'll basically shut down officially. But the step was taken about almost a year back of shutting down GCA.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I think most of the questions on chat has already been answered by Nitika. So we can close this call. Right?
I think Sandeepan has something, but yeah, we should definitely close after that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have a question. Actually, there is an appreciation that I would like to make. I am attending con calls of Pakka Limited, like 7, 8. This is the 8th con call I believe that I've attended, and there has been not a single instance where investors' questions were not answered till the last question. I am seeing the entire management is sitting down. There are many con calls that I attend, but there are very few companies that take this responsibility of answering the questions that the investors ask. This is really commendable.
Thank you so much.
Matters,
but it is our we find that you as investors trust us, put a lot of hard-earned money of yours into our company. We of course have responsibility of doing justice with it, but the least we can do is to make sure that we answer your queries once a quarter, and then of course the questions are very insightful, and we found that we learn a lot through those questions as well, and we also learn where we should be focusing. So in a way, it is a two-way street. So this 1.5 hours is actually very value added for us as well as a company, and you also get to see the amazing group of people that we have within our team, and we are so proud of that as well.
Right. Thank you. That's all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. And thanks for
Thank you so much for joining the call. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.